More third-party autofocus lenses for L-mount. I got two more that we're gonna take a look at here. We've got the Meike 35mm f2.0, and then we've got the Meike 55mm f1.8. And then I'm also gonna revisit a little bit the Meike 85mm 1.8. I've just got some sample images, and I'm gonna kind of talk a little bit in how they compare to these two lenses. If you're new here, my name's Dustin, your video tour guide. Remember to keep your arms and legs inside your chairs at all times. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. By the way, if you're looking to learn more about how to use your Lumix camera, you're in luck. I have an online course. The course has over 3 hours of content teaching you about the photo settings and the video settings on your Lumix camera. And the best part about it is that you get a lifetime membership with the one-time fee. So any new videos or content, like I plan to add sections on the S1R Mark II, the Lumix GH7, and any other future cameras that Lumix plans to release. Plus, there's some exclusive gear discounts, lots of value basically. I'll have a link in the description if you're interested in learning more about the course. Now let me talk more about the lenses before I get into the image quality of the lenses. So let's start with the 35mm f2.0. As far as price goes, I think it's very reasonably priced. It's currently $179 on Amazon, or $200 retail roughly. At least for me in the US, I know price is different depending on where you get it from. But yeah, $200 retail. As far as the build quality goes, I mean, it's $200 lens. Like, don't expect anything spectacular, but it's actually not bad. Like, for $200, I think it's got a little bit more kind of like weight to it, which isn't always a sign of like quality on a lens. But the thing that I think is nice about this lens is it seems like it's weather sealed because of this rubber ring that goes around the lens. So that's nice. As far as the focus as well, I think it's better than maybe one lens that I've used as well. One thing that does kind of annoy me about the lens is that it's got a 58mm front thread. It's just kind of an uncommon, front thread. I wish it was 67mm, but that's just me. And yeah, it's nothing like crazy. You've got a little USB port here to do firmware updates as well. Let me move on to the 55mm, because I think the 55mm is kind of like a jump in a little bit of quality as well. So this one, I forgot to mention, they call it the SE series. So I don't know if they're gonna have lenses in here that are only SE series, but then it looks almost the same as this Pro series lens. I guess maybe what determines if it's a SE series lens over a Pro lens is the aperture ring. So let me go ahead and just talk about that. So it's pretty nice that it's got an aperture ring on this, and I think it's pretty well, built. It kind of clicks as you turn it, and it's smooth. Yeah, I don't really have any complaints on it. Like, even when you put it in the A mode, it does kind of lock in there, like give it a little bit of force in order to get it out of there. So I do like that. I like that it's clickable. The focus ring, it feels, not really any different than that one. It's not incredible, but it's also not terrible. We've got the same filter thread as well, 58mm, and then you've also got the red ring around this. So I'm pretty sure that means it's weather sealed. I could be completely wrong, but yeah, you definitely got a bit more bump in like, I guess, premium when it comes to this lens, because one, it goes to a 1.8, and two, it's got the aperture ring. This lens in particular comes in at, I don't have it memorized. On Amazon, the retail price is $330. Yeah, so that's $330, and you can get it for $263 though on Amazon. But yeah, retail price, it's a little bit more, which it's kind of hard to say whether or not that's worth it. It's just kind of like, well, do you enjoy having an aperture ring? And I don't really care to have an aperture ring. I'm not really crazy about it. One thing that I don't love, and this is just me, is when an aperture ring goes from the A mode down to f16 right after. I don't know. I just think it's weird to go from that. But anyways, I don't really use, clickable aperture rings. I will say that This is the same for the other lens as well. This AF click doesn't feel very like premium, but again, these are budget lenses. They're not supposed to be like insanely premium, and I like that, you know, we're starting to get more budget options available in L mount. It's just nice to see. I want to revisit this 85mm f1.8, mostly in just comparison to these two lenses, because like I said, these two lenses, this is like SE series, and then this is a Pro series, but then this one doesn't have any kind of indication of what series it is. So when it comes to build quality though, like I do not like this aperture ring. It feels just so loose and like very cheap. Let's put it that way. I don't think this lens is very much. I've already made a review video on this. The reason why I'm including it again to compare to these ones is mostly just for the image. Some people wanted to see some portraits, which, you know, I probably should have gotten some portraits, but it didn't work out. But I decided to include it in this video as well, just so you guys can see some portraits, which we're going to get to in just a second. And this lens goes for, I think it's only $180, roughly. Yeah, $180. So also in the more like ultra budget, I guess, side. So it'd fit next to this lens. However, I think this 35mm is, the build is much better. So just some feedback. So we're just going to get into some images of my son that I took with these lenses instead. When it comes to the image quality, let's go ahead and start with the 35mm. And I mean, it looks great from what I'm shooting, like for everyday shooting. I'm not really seeing any kind of like real problems besides just like maybe some chromatic aberration. If you really zoom in, you can kind of see it, but I shot all of these wide open on 35. Even the bokeh in the background, you can kind of see looks, you know, it looks pretty circular and nice. I don't really see any kind of vignetting either on the 35mm, so maybe it's a little bit softer too, all the way open, and I'm sure that that would just get sharper as you go up. That's pretty typical when it comes to these kinds of lenses. Let's move on to the 55mm, and I'm gonna say I think I like the 55mm more just in terms of like image quality and look. I think it looks really, really nice, especially for like the portraits that I got. I know this is just like my son, but I don't know, the background blur just looks really nice. There's still some slight chromatic aberration, but it seems like that it's much better controlled. I think it just gives a really good separation. Maybe that's why it's called the Pro version. It just like separates the subject really well in the background. And the bokeh too, like you get a little bit of cat's eye in the corners, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. When it comes to chromatic aberration too, you maybe see slightly some in the background of the bokeh, and it's not the smoothest. It's actually fairly smooth though. Yeah, I think the 55 is definitely my favorite in terms of just like image quality and the look. I think it looks really, really nice. And yeah, in order to see like the chromatic aberration, you really have to kind of zoom in order to see it, but it's really not, you know, it's not that noticeable. For the price, I mean, like, I don't really think it matters too much, but let me just show you some of the portraits I got too of the 85mm, because some people wanted to see this in my last video. And now it looks like in the background bokeh, there's like this yellow and green. So I don't really love that. Let me see if it's there on other shots. It does look like it is. There's like this, yeah, yellowish green there in the background. So yeah, I would say on the 85mm, there's definitely a lot more undesirable effects to like the bokeh, for example. It is much more prevalent there. You can even see it quite a bit in this shot of my son pointing. You can see that pink there, but yeah, this one's actually pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. What's interesting though is this last shot, this last portrait of my son, it's not there as much. You still kind of see it slightly in the bokeh, but it's definitely less noticeable. So maybe in a less busy like background, you won't see those like undesirable effects as much. Here's what I will say though, when it comes to like chromatic aberration, is I think when you shoot in an environment that has a lot more color, like I did take these lenses to, it looks like basically another planet, but there's a lot of like color and different lighting and stuff like that in this environment. And like, I don't see any of that chromatic aberration or, you know, undesirable effects that you see on those other shots. So maybe if the scene that you're using these lenses is much more like clean and neutral, you'll see those things. But like in this environment where there's a lot of like different colors and just different looks to things and whatnot, like I don't even see any problems or anything undesirable, I guess. Since these are third-party autofocus lenses too, in terms of autofocus, you're gonna get better results using first-party, but like it's still definitely usable. I wouldn't use it in like burst mode or any kind of action sports, but for everyday stuff like photos of like your kids or portraits where the subject's not moving very fast and taking some quick video and shots, like you'll be just fine. Miike did mention that they're gonna send me their 85mm f1.4 Pro lens. So if you'd like to see that lens, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell button to be notified of that video. And don't forget to check out my course as well. There's a link in the description. And I just became a MusicBed partner as well. I've got a link to a free trial. All the music I use on this channel is pretty much from MusicBed, and even for years of using this channel, all my music has been from MusicBed. So I've got a free trial for you guys, link in the description. You can also just support me by hitting the subscribe button and the bell button to be notified future uploads. Till the next video though, happy filming.